Good evening. Well, somebody's been shopping and rounding up bits and pieces for various projects. And so my workbench is all messy. There's bits all over the place. A couple of different kinds of motors that I've found, some controls for those, some knobs. What else have I got? Shaft connectors, all kinds of brackets. There's a whole box of springs. They're quite interesting. So here's what came. Here's what the problem is, of course. It all says made in China. Now, I don't mind things made in China one little bit. In fact, I think they do a wonderful job. The problem we've got, of course, is, as we saw in one of the recent videos, there is all kinds of discounts and sales and people panicking. And so what I've done is I've bought a restock on some of the springs I've routinely used. I usually go through those really fast. I think some of you will recognize them. Some of you will have seen I've used boxes like this one, any number of times. And in this one, for example, what's in this one? Numbers of connectors, for example. These are, what's that? 5-pin connectors. Jolly useful stuff. Buttons and knobs and who knows what. Boxes and boxes of this stuff. And you can never find the right box. So it's time to get organized. So today's project, is it really to do with model railways? Well, sort of. We're putting model railway bits in the boxes. But I'm going to make a rack for all of these. And I'm counting, I thought it was 10 of them. I'm seeing 9. Let me look, see what I've done with the other one. Nope, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. There's another one over there. What's that, 6? 3 there, that's not, I'm missing one. See, I can't even find all the boxes. I hate clutter. So we're actually pretty organized. I'm just going to build a rack to put all of those in. Now, you won't all have the same kind of box exactly, but you probably have got similar boxes or could get rid of some of those boxes the springs come in and the first time you open them, they fall to pieces. You know we're going to keep those as well. But I'm going to make a rack that holds 10 of those boxes and we're going to shove it under the bench so that we've got everything in one place. How about that? Come on. Ooh, it's hot and sticky up here. I'm out in the garage and we're going to hack up some wood to make some shelves. It really isn't much to do with model railways other than it's getting that organized. And I think this project is sort of a crossover project. Let me show you what I'm up to. Essential ingredients, bit of ply, some right-angled aluminum for you Americans, and the storage boxes. We need to know how big they are. I believe they're about 1 foot deep. Yeah, almost exactly 1 foot. So if we call it 1 foot, so it's 12. We're measuring in inches today. 15 and a bit. The bit is simply that if you make it too tight and it doesn't fit, you're going to be in trouble, and you've got to get 2 pieces. I'm not going to go as far as 1/4 though. I knew it was going to happen. Have to go back to millimeters, my favorite. Yeah, 15 and 1/4. And then this is do you see how they lock together? Now the clearance height, deepest point 3 inches. Is that right? Yeah, 3 inches. So the idea is to make 2 panels with right-angled aluminium pieces on them, all the way up on both sides. And then no shelves in the middle, and so the boxes just sit on the bits on the edge. So looking at it from the front, I think I've got 2 pieces of paper turned there. Looking at it from the front, it would look something like this, with a box on it. And then another one there with a box on it. And these are 3 inches apart. And then we've got to hold the sides together, so we'll put a top on it. That to me makes 30 inches. 3, 3, 3. The bottom ones, of course, we would have to put up the other way, which would hold a bottom on. Would have to countersink the screws, otherwise it doesn't matter. I'm screwing it together. I'm trying to draw what it might look like. And then the bottom, do we need a bottom on it? Probably not. But we will need something to hold it together. So somewhere in here we're going to need a shelf or pieces of wood or something across. So 30 inches, it won't bow or anything, but halfway up at 50, what's that? 15, that's just over a foot. Yeah, it's only this thing is only, it's not very high at all. So let's mark it out very roughly. There's a mosquito running around in here. I don't need that. We live right beside a lake, and every now and again we have mosquitoes. It needs to look okay too. We'll have a look. So that's roughly what I'm on. Alrighty, just check it is actually 2 feet. It's just under 2 feet, of course it is. It's been cut. There's a nasty ding in it there. We'll start the other end, but the size will be the same. What is that? So somebody's chewed through it. We'll halve it, and let's get a proper ruler on that. You might remember I told you I had a ruler with holes in it. There it is. See all the holes? These are all the various radii or radius I've used on curves. So you stick your pencil in that end or the other end. That caught me out one time. Stick your pencil in there, and then you go down to here and you draw your curve. So that was a about a 20-inch radius. So if you stick a screw in that one or spike in that one and then swing on the other end, you're going to get a nice curve. And that was the minimum. There's another one out here somewhere. This can't be right. I think I used that as well, and from the other end. So that would have been a 25-inch radius. So that's how I did it. Always used it that way up, so I didn't question myself with numbers. But that's how it worked. All right, I need a center point, and since it's just under 2 feet, what I'm doing is holding the ruler so that there's the same sort of space either side, then marking it. So that's the center there, and I'll do another one further up the board. Something like that. Is that right? Yeah. And then join the two lines together. Now then, the actual height of these is under 3 inches by a bit there. So adding 10 of these, which is what I've got, that would be 30 inches. If I just go to 36, that's 6 inches that I don't need. I could get another 2 of them in, if you see what I mean. The significance of not going to 36 is that the workbench and the storage cabinet are 31. So if I can stay just around at that height, I don't need to be absolute accurate. Now, if I go under 30, I might actually be able to slide it under a workbench. You never know. But for right now, we're going to knock that down to 30, leaving myself a little bit of wiggle room. It's almost, look at here. You see here? It's almost 1/4 of an inch on each one as it is, which is plenty. So we're going to go at 3-inch spacing. So these will be the 2 sides. They're just under 12. Because it's, what is that, 30? We're going to go at 30 now, aren't we? Looky-see engineering. We're not going to need a center support because it'll have a back on it. So the putting a top on it and the bottom on it will, we put the top on the top and the bottom inside the bottom. You're basically building a box. Now the back, so the idea is they'll go patumfing in and they'll stop by hitting the back. I thought about using hardboard because I have some leaning on the wall over there. But there's going to be more than enough ply left over to make a back. It'll make it heavier, I don't mind, but a back on it, I was going to set the back in to make it look nicer, but it will sit on the back because this is not quite deep enough. Yeah, they're going to go all the way in because these are 11 and a bit, so they're going to go all the way in, so it'll be flush on the front. I could cut this and then mark it out, but I'm going to mark it out before I cut it. That way the marks will go onto the 2 boards exactly. And if I realize I've made a silly mistake on the way, I haven't done any damage. See, there I made a mistake. $24 and 3. It's 27, not 26. Silly boy. And 30. So now, shelf. We're going to count the shelves down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The reason for numbering them is if I get the board the wrong way up. Now I've just offered the angle up to the bottom, so I'm intending to use no woodworking skills whatsoever, just an angle bracket, screw through it and screw through the other way. When I left school, my highest qualification was in woodwork. I didn't do well in school at all. And the reason I put that mark there is because then I can turn this over and see, does it fit? Ooh, that's going to be tight. So one angle that way to hold the bottom on, one angle this way to form the shelf, and the 2 actually touch. So we're going to need to mount that early. That's good. May need to move everything up just a bit, but I will have them touch. So there's the 30 mark. I will cut on the fat side of the line. Like that. I could just mark it as fat, but I'm gonna go the fat side of the line. And then this is irrelevant. And now I've got to mark a top. I could wait until I'm done before I do that, but the top and the bottom will be the same, will they? No. The top will, I'm thinking out loud here. The top will have a lip overhang and the bottom won't. I'm going to write down some measurements here for the top. Measuring the width again, 15.25. So if we say 15.5, is it 15.25? It's just exactly on 15. If you made it 15, it wouldn't fit. 15.25 is minimum, so 15.5. If we make that 15.5, that would be perfect. Plus the width of the thickness of the ply, which is half. So 15.5 plus a half plus a half. Why can't we work in millimeters? That would be 16.5. And we want a half-inch overlap, so 17.5. Total. Top. 17.5, and then the depth has got to go. The depth will be the width of this, which is a foot, a nominal foot, plus a half an inch, that's 12.5. If I make it 13, I've got a 1/4 of an inch lip. So 12 for the actual thing, and then another inch for the wood makes it 13, and a 1/4 of an inch either side makes it 13.5. 13.5. So making sure I've done that right. Here you can look at my math. So 15.5, that is the box. Plus a half, that's the sides, that's 16.5. And I've said 17.5, so I wanted half an inch either side. Why would I want half an inch either side? So checking again, 15.5 by a half is 16.5. 17, a 1/4 of an inch is plenty. 1/4 of an inch lip. And that would be the same as this. That's 12 plus the back is half. 12.5. So it's 13 and 17. So 17 by 13 is the top. Let's write that down here. Top equals 17 by 13. Bottom that's more exact, but again I want the back sitting on it, so it's 12.5 deep, just under 12.5, 12.5 on the thin side by 15.5, no overlap sticky outy bits, so an inch is 16.5. Bottom 12.5 by 16.5, top 17 by 13. Back now. The back must be the same length of this as this, so it's 30 by, and the back will determine the distance between them because of the bottom, so that must be the same as the it's going to go on the back, not in the back, so it must be the same as the bottom, 16.5. So 30 by 16.5, so a 42.5 by 16.5, it's my cut list, 16.5. Let's have a look if I've got that. Alrighty, the whole board is marked up. There's very little left over, to be quite honest. How we're going to join it all together, we will show you. It's all in my head. But I'll show you real quick. Bunch of screws. These are 1/2 inch length. They're just a bit too long. I did look for shorter. They don't actually come through but would penetrate the surface, except that there's a aluminium. Oh, these are the self-tapping type. I don't need those. That's being silly. I've got the right thing somewhere. We'll find them. And we'll screw it all together. Now then, I haven't shown you me actually cutting the board. Yes, and a skill saw. Nicely clamped, working from one side. I just didn't need the distraction of worrying about video when I was cutting with something that could take my digits off. They're all there, look. Both hands, you doubters. So what I do, just to explain, I'm going to take the battery off. So I never work on the blade when the battery's on. So basically what I do is set the blade to just deeper than the cut I'm wanting to make, and there's a strip of wood under each side clamped there. So that has been cut, and yet there's no chance of it going ba-doing when it's finished. So that's what I've been up to. That's 2 cuts, several more to go. There's all the bits cut. The next thing to do is to cut this into 11 3/4 inch lengths. Not 12, because then they would just stick out. I don't mind them just being back a tiny bit. So 11 3/4, and lots of them. The way I intend to do this is cut one. I'll use a jigsaw. It's only aluminium jigsaw with a metal blade in it. That's all I've got that will cut metal. And then use it as a template for the rest. I'm going to figure out how many I need, of course. So that will be a little math thing. 1 for the top, 1 for the bottom. That's 2. And each of this will be doubled because we're on the side here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right? Does it make sense? Well, there's 10 shelves, so that would be 10 things being supported. And the bracket at the bottom, or the one at the bottom, holds on the bottom as well. So that's 10. And then, of course, the extra one at the top, so 11. So it's 11, so I need 22. And so it means I need 22 feet of this stuff, and I believe I have that, but we'll mark it up and away we go. The other battery needs a bit of a charge. That one's fine. Now I've got to find a metal blade. It'll be the one I don't have very many of, I expect. What we got here? Sheet metal. Well, that isn't quite what this is. Medium. Well, I've got 2 of those. Let's see what happens. Again, even though I'm nowhere near the trigger, I've taken the battery off when I'm messing with the blade. These are so easy, you can do them with one hand. Lovely. Use the one I've used already. Now this control determines how much the blade walks. I don't want it walking along on me. I want to push it because it's metal. Not bad. Metal, of course, tends to rattle around as you cut it. You've really got to clamp it up tight. It's a little hard to clamp because its profile is a little long for the lip on the workbench, so I'm having to jam things under it. This could take a while. Well, we're done. Oh, wait. I can't hear myself think. Ick. The importance of using the right blades. Hold on. No teeth left. No teeth left. Can you see that? Yeah, I think a butter knife would do better. But these blades are basic medium, not made for DeWalt. The Bosch blades, Swiss made. There's a clue. Plenty of blades left. So about 18 of the pieces were cut with that. 1 was cut with that. 2 was cut with that. And this was the was something like that. I think this was the bad blade in the first place, wasn't it? One of them. Anyway, so I've gone through 3 blades that I didn't need to use. So we'll throw those out immediately. And remind myself to buy some more steel blades. This is the leftover. Oh, I love when a plan comes together. And that would tell you the inaccuracy of my cutting. Yes, we'll keep those, they might be useful. They might be useful drawer. Now, there's one of these that took a kick. There it is, you can see the bend in it. That's where the blade doesn't work and the saw kicks on the metal and managed to bend it. So I'll have to straighten that. And then I've got to smooth out all the edges. I do have a grinding wheel on the bench, and for those of you who know, no, I'm not going to, because aluminium will clog up the wheel. Rotary sander it is. Works quite well. I have a magic hose pipe that plugs into the back of the sander and straight into the vacuum cleaner, so we're not throwing metal dust all over the place. The edges have all sanded up, holes drilled. Now we've just got to fix the brackets in place. This one goes on the bottom because it has 3 holes in it and they're countersunk to attach the bottom. There should be another one for the top somewhere. Well, there's not a whole lot to see, but let's get on with it. I went to buy the screws because I had run out, or at least if I hadn't run out, I can't find them. And found 2 boxes. They're rather large heads, pan heads they call them. But I found them for 2 different prices in the that's bent. 2 different prices in the same shop, and they said, no, it's not a different price, it's a different product. Of course, it wasn't. I must have dropped this one. It's bent. That's the back. So we line up with the back. You watch me shove the drill off the desk. Yep. Whack a screw in. If I can't lift the board up off the table in the end, it's because the screws were too long. The brrr noise is the clutch kicking in. I always set the clutch to do what it's supposed to do and not more. And that way you don't rip up the heads of the screws. Oh no, don't make me bend over, it's been a long day. The magnetic screwdriver bit would be kind of handy right now. We'll see how bored of me balancing things we get. It will determine whether or not I go downstairs to find it. Not sure that it would be all that helpful at this point. Is this right? We're going to put this screw in and try it and check it. Does this slide in between? It does. It looked narrower than I expected. Now, let's get on with this. The screws have fairly sharp points on them, and so what you can do, line everything up and then shove them in as if it's a thumbtack, and then screw it in. There you go. Next. These little screws are the screws that will go through. Actually, I should think about that before I go much further, because I'm not going to be able to get a screwdriver in there. But I have one of these things. It's a right-angled screwdriver. That will work. So I'm not worried about it. Let's get this thing in. Next mark. It is hot out here today. They tell me it started off at 60. I thought, oh, that's nice. And now it's 80 something. That's old money. That's one thing I've never really got my head around, the centigrade and Fahrenheit. And that's because I was here or gone from England before I really had to worry about it. I know 18 is kind of nice and 28 isn't. I thrive at about 60, between 60 and 68. Anything higher than that, and I'm a wimp. Gonna have to move you. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about half of this side done, and we'll move on to the other side. You don't need to watch the whole thing. Of course you don't. It's noisy. Ooh, that compressor's noisy. So we've got the bottom on, we've got the sides on, of course. How far apart do they go? We're going to use the back as a guide. Now, how are we going to keep the back on? Bit of glue down each side, and then I'm going to pop a nail from the nail gun just to hold it in place while it glues. There we go, it's coming along nicely. The back is on, a little bit of glue over spill. No real disasters with the pins and the nails. Just got to put the top on. So let's get it on, lined up, and I can mark around where it's supposed to be. Now, sadly, I am seeing a level of daylight there, which means something isn't square somewhere, but that's going to have to do. What I'm doing now is making sure I've got a reasonable lip either side, and then what I'll do is draw a line around the inside and mount the brackets. I've used both hands and measured. I can't do it with a camera in my hand, but the distance between there and there and there and there and the diagonals are right, which is always a good thing with a box. So I'm going to get these last two brackets screwed on here and then on there, and we will be done. I will run a little bit of glue around the top before we do. All right, well, there it is. It's not furniture, don't give me that, but it would hold a coat of varnish or paint. I wonder what that is. There's a mark on the wood there. Needs a little bit of sanding, but I think coat of stain or something, it looked nice. And yes, they fit. Little bit of a bump on these screws, but there's plenty of room for them, so it's not a problem. I could have used countersunk screws, but hey, there's plenty of room down the sides. I'm very happy, and if you put one on top of the other, there's enough space. There's an extra foot. You see this? This foot, I didn't know it had that. It sticks out, and it's intended to latch the other pieces together, so you can put one on top of the other, and then this clip latches onto them, and that does hit the front of the rail if you don't. There, you see. So you just have to lift it up, and then it goes in. But yes, so slots for 10. It will be filled up in no time. I will put those little felt pads underneath. There's nothing sharp down there, but it's going to move around, and I don't want the floor getting scratched up more than it already is. So yeah. What do you mean you want to see a train running? All right, we're going to take it downstairs, get it stained up, take it downstairs, and watch the trains go around while the paint dries. Here we are in the basement. I'm just about to load it up. I don't have any stain or even any polyurethane that's any good, so I need to go shopping again. Yes, it can wait. It would fit in there beside the big chest. I still haven't taken those wheels off. I was looking for the spanner that does that, and I do not know where it is. Or it would go in that way, but since I sit here, that's exactly the right place, and it gives me a place to put my cup of tea when I'm working on the trains. So yeah, right there is where it's going for now. There it is, loaded up with all the boxes. Some have orange latches, some have black. The orange ones are older and are already full. Some of the black ones are too. I shall have to get labels on the front of it now, won't I? So that I know what's in them. There will come a day very soon when I'm going to have to lay some more third and fourth rail. I do like the way these underground trains run. They don't seem to stress at all over the points and junctions. They just seem to work. I mean, you can't have this many underground trains. I have 3 of them. Can't have this many and not have more fourth rail than I have. That's not right. Oh, I love it. Little flicker of the lights. And there too. What's interesting is traveling that slowly over that double slip. You sometimes get a little bit of a stutter, but because the underground stock really is 2 trains, the front and the back 2 cars, if the front part does stall, the back pushes it. So in some ways, you don't need a stay alive. You've got it in the form of a come along now, move along now, second unit. Third and fourth rail, I've got to do something with it. I will say that those insulators I'm not a fan of, having used them. I've knocked this rail out of those a number of times. And the middle is just laid there glued in a double white paint. The 47 reminds me that I need to get into these programming and look at the CV values of the chips. I haven't done that on very many of the locomotives, and I really can't set up the block detection until I do that. The issue being that I tell each block how far the train should go in and how long it should run before it stops. And they're all over the place because they haven't been programmed. So you've got to set up your CV values if you want your trains to stop in the right place using train controller. This one is behaving itself beautifully, stops in the right place. Look at this, I'll show you at the other end where it has stopped on its own. I love it. If you can do that consistently, and it seems to, yeah, it comes in, slows down and stops there. Lovely. I need a shower. It's tea time, and yeah, it's enough for one day. I'm going to start doodling and goofing and just doing stuff if I don't. So I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.